I could watch this video. Are you guys interested in watching this video with me? After 200 games into League Ranked, what I love and what I don't. I'd be love to watch this video. I never watched it before. So this person, I think, is like played Dota first, I believe. Grubby, right? He played Dota. I didn't really watch any of his journey, but he played Dota first, and then he played League after. And I guess he has some thoughts.
Discuss the Warcraft 3 patch. I asked you guys if you would be interested to hear about some
Playing a
League
little
of
bit
Legends
speed
content,
up though,
as I had
so it's a
recently
little bit
started
faster.
playing League of Legends.
Let's see
You
what he
replied
says.
in the many hundreds of
YouTube. YouTube. It was a WC3 Pro. Yeah. YouTube.
What's up? In a previous video
Here
where
we
I
go.
discussed the Warcraft 3 patch, I
Start
asked
again.
you guys if you would be interested to hear about some League of Legends content, as I had recently started playing League of Legends. You replied in the many hundreds of comments with many emphatic no's. Perhaps ironically, I will publish this anyway. At least you know that I'm not just pandering and creating content, what I think people want to see, but stuff that I'm actually just passionate about. So if you're not interested, that's fine. But I want to talk about my top 10 favorite things about League so far after playing for a
top
little
10
bit.
favorite
I'm enjoying
things.
the game a lot. Warcraft 3 has always got a special place in my heart, and I'll surely be back to it very, very soon after I complete my League of Legends arc. I'll always come back to it, but I'm enjoying the League arc right now, so let's talk a little bit about it.
Okay.
I've been playing League of Legends for about 5 weeks now, and I went from unranked to bronze 3 to now platinum 4 with a win rate
That
of
is fucking
53%
good.
after a little over 200 games.
That is
of
insane
ranked. And I wanted to give
improvement.
you guys my general impression so far, my general enjoyment so far, how my views on the game
That is
changed,
insanely
and then
good.
go through the top 10 things I like the most and the bottom 5 things, or the top 5 things I like the least. So let's jump into it. My general impression so far is that League is a complex and skill-based game with pretty fast action, an interesting and complex laning phase. You need a lot of champion knowledge, a lot of matchup knowledge, and it's been very fun learning the game as a new player. I do have everyone on mute. A lot of people have been asking, is League less toxic than Dota 2? Because you've got that video
It's about
from Dota 2
equal.
where you said you're quitting because you were kind of sick of
Maybe
some of the
Dota
backseating or
slightly
some of
more.
the, you know, mentalities that you had to endure there. And yes, you know, and I got coached by Ari before, this top support player from Team OG, and he said I should mute everyone in Dota 2 because you need to learn your own ideas about the game rather than just pandering to the most recent loud.
I kinda agree with this. I tell people the same thing. Like, you should probably mute. The only thing you shouldn't mute are pings, because pings are like the best form of communication because the game has no voice chat, right? But yeah, muting people is good because you're playing in low ranks where people have no clue anyway. Most of the time, they're not saying anything productive, and the amount of teamwork in low elo is like a lot less. You can literally just win games by basically focusing on yourself. So that's kind of like what I think as well.
I can't express enough how
I would
right
mute
he
people.
was. While it may seem a little egocentric or selfish or, you know, tunnel visioned to have chat off and potentially miss out on some important teamwork
That happens
discussions
rarely.
with your teammates, it has been extremely healthy for my mentality, because rather than constantly worrying about the judgment of my teammates, I'm already getting enough judgment in my Twitch chat, I can just focus on my own ideas about the game. What is important is that I'm trying my best every single game to win the game. And to my teammates, that should matter. And I will miss some important callouts, yes, but I'm also missing all the potentially kind of distracting complaints from some of my teammates.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a good trade-off. It's already difficult enough to learn a complex game like League with over 160 different champions and a lot of intricate game mechanics without the distraction of needing to just do what my teammates want me to do.
Yeah.
I tend to feel quite guilty when I make a mistake, and reading judgment in Twitch chat or in the game from my teammates actually exacerbates that feeling of guilt. A guilty conscience doesn't feel creative, optimistic, and happy, and feels more like it wants to defend its own ego, and that does not help me make better decisions or play better mechanically. So I'm really doing the best thing for my teammates, even if it may seem a little bit more
That makes sense. I agree with that.
My win rate proves that so far it's working out at least a little bit. How did I view League of Legends before I started playing it? Well, I don't actually even know when the game came out, but I know it was somewhere between 2011 and
2009,
probably, before HOTS, but after Dota 2. And most of the time I spoke to League players that were no longer playing, that were like, man, this game is so shit. Like, I get so sick of the toxicity or the game mechanics or whatever. So I hear a lot of people that have left in exodus of League, and they're not necessarily a good representative of how the game is.
Yep.
I also talked to some people that do still play League, and they all said the game is shit too.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're jealously guarding this game. They don't want other people to enjoy it. Why? The game is really good. I think
it is
a lot
good
of people
game.
have developed a negative relationship towards the game because of a piling up of quote-unquote traumatic experiences.
That is
I
true.
think the toxicity that they themselves have perpetrated or received from others...
What you see online is not an accurate representation of how League feels to a normal player, to an average League player. An average League player is just someone that probably plays like 3 games a week, you know, enjoys it over a week with like a bunch of friends and then logs off and then sees you next week or something, you know what I mean?
I think the negative experiences they had when they got snowballed and lost, any griefers they had, I think those negative experiences pile up and are remembered more than some of the positive experiences. And at some point, it's just enough is enough. And so you've developed a negative relationship to the game and you end up quitting. But I think the game itself is actually really good. And
it is good. It wouldn't have been the most successful game for God knows how long, and it wouldn't have such a big player base if it wasn't a good game at its core. That's just facts.
My mission is to not play the game anymore if I develop a negative relationship towards it, which right now is not the case at all. It's very positive. So, yeah, I just need to guard myself against becoming the villain they warned me about, and you know, becoming negative about it or not enjoying it but playing it anyway because I'm addicted. I'm going to take a break if that happens. But right now, I'm enjoying it a lot. What's that sound? Is that the League client?
That's
is
the
League
client
talking to me? Let me just
finishing the
close
patch.
League client for a bit. It had something to say about that. Interesting. They're listening. Vanguard, quite an intrusive program, huh?
Vanguard, yeah.
And so that's kind of what I heard sometimes before I started playing League. Then I sometimes saw some ego players in Heroes of the Storm, which is a game that is more emphasizing teamwork. And sometimes you saw these terms, this terminology that's used specifically in League, like ADC, carry, and what's your main champion. We don't really talk about it like that in Heroes of the Storm. Whenever you saw this terminology, you knew you were dealing with a League of Legends player specimen. And oftentimes these players made the League look a little bit bad because the way that they spoke in HOTS seemed very self-centered and you should die for me, you're the support, you should die for me, or you're the tank, you should tank and die for me, or whatever.
I remember back in the day, no one uses it nowadays, but back in the day, so much. I remember when I played like season 1, 2, 3, 4. If you took a kill from someone, why kill steal, noob? Like that was always the case. Oh my god, KS. Why are you kill stealing? All the
how HOTS
time.
works. Everyone should endeavor to stay alive there. Every character can put out serious damage and is important for the success of the team fight. I think HOTS is more like WoW Arena, which is a 3-on-3 deathmatch where if one dies, often the fight is over already, and you can't really 1v3 or 1v9 there like you can in League. But more about that later. So yeah, my views on League, the game, did change quite a bit because I'm also more open-minded now than I was 10 years ago. So I'm playing more different games and I'm comparing them. But anyway, that's a lot of prelude. Let's go into the top 10 things I like the most in League of Legends.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's the laning phase.
Laning phase.
Differently than Heroes of the Storm, the laning phase is very significant, it's very important, it's skillful, and it endures. Usually after 3 to 5 minutes, Heroes of the Storm laning phase is pretty much dead. You just show up now and then, you blast all the waves with all your abilities, and then you leave. And you could leave for quite a while. In League of Legends, the laning phase
can't really
is
do that,
incredibly
yeah, in
important.
most
Every time I
cases.
get coached by high-level players like Pobelter or Tyler1 or Quante, I get the emphasis that you must catch every wave at your tower. If you're a top laner, if you're a mid laner, you need to try and catch every wave. CS, which is your creep score, is very important. You need to get the gold and the experience, and you need to protect your towers. Short roams are possible and even encouraged, but it should be done.
I mean, this is the current version of League, right? Like, Grubby didn't play in the past, but in the past, for example, roaming was like sometimes easier. Or laning phase in the past mattered even more than it does right now. Like, he's saying that he thinks number 1 is the laning phase in his top 10, right? But right now, in 2025, laning phase is the most useless part about League, but it's still important. You understand what I mean? Like, in the past, laning phase was way more important. Like, the way the shades go nowadays, the way the minion waves work, and you get home guards on basing and stuff like that. It is so hard to solo kill people in high MMR, especially in mid lane. Maybe in top lane it's a bit easier. And laning phase in pro play is usually just handshake, you know. Every 5 minutes, both laners just farm almost evenly. You can even watch like best Asian teams versus like okay Western teams, and the laning phase is still equal in 5 minutes. It is completely gone in high MMR. Maybe in low MMR laning phase maybe plays a more significant role, maybe. But I would doubt that. I would think it plays less of a role actually.
That your lane is in a good state, that the wave is in a good state, you've just pushed out a wave, maybe you proxied a wave, and this leads to a relatively extended laning phase that could last 10 to 15 minutes with only occasional forays towards an objective. And
I think
like
10 to 15 minutes is maybe the case in low MMR, but in high MMR, I would think it's less than that. I would say laning phase in high MMR usually lasts maybe 8 to 9 minutes.
There's an emphasis on last hitting minions, which gives you your CS, obtaining the gold required. It leads to power growth. There's a short time to kill. Two heroes, two champions in League of Legends that are laning against each other have serious ability to kill one another. Like, you could get farmed over and over and die like 6 times in 10 minutes, or be the one that perpetrates that against your lane opponent. Sometimes there are people coming to gank and help you out, or help you have a terrible time, as you're 1v2 or 1v3 all the time. But the result of the laning phase is incredibly impactful. In Heroes of the Storm, a game that I also love and have tens of thousands of hours in, if you're solo laning as a typical solo lane, you can't kill your opponents pretty much unless they fuck up big time, and you can't get killed. So you're usually just standing there doing minimal, meaningless trades. And I
think his experience differs from mine here a little bit, because I play in high professional play and he plays in low MMR, so laning phase works a bit differently in that sense.
What I like about League is that you do have that kill ability. You do have the ability to drop someone's health to 0 very, very quickly with the correct sequence of moves and summoner spells.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to have extensive matchup knowledge, and I get the feeling that you could practice your matchup knowledge for tens of thousands of hours. And because it is
you can, yeah. This is why a lot of people also one-trick in this game, is because you basically reduce the variables. Because if you only play one champion, then you only have to learn the matchups for that champion specifically, right? That's why one-tricking is so needed. Like, you know, it makes you have an easier time climbing in general, because you basically reduce the amounts of variables in the game. And yeah, makes sense, yeah.
It is actually usually encouraged to not play a lot of different champions as you learn the game.
Also, one-tricks, for example, like sell these guides where they have like Google Docs of like 170 different matchups in top lane. And for every champion you face, you get like an instruction. You should do this and this in this matchup. You should go this and this runes and this starting item.
Because you cannot possibly be equally good at 40 different champions in a single lane, because the permutations of different matchup possibilities will just be too vast. And so there's a real growth journey, and I like that a lot. Number 2, team fights. Team fights are hectic, lethal, fast, and skill-based. And I have only just begun to scratch the surface of it. I feel like a headless chicken walking around, firing in random directions around me when I'm surrounded by enemies and teammates. And that makes it so impressive that I miss so many of my skill shots when there's enemies all around me. I've only just begun to scratch the surface of how difficult it is and how bad I am at team fights, but it's a lot of fun to learn.
It's kind of like me playing Dota. When you just don't know what the characters can do, you walk into a team fight, you just don't know what's gonna happen. You don't understand anything.
All around me, on the enemy team and on my team, and it's fun. And number 3, the power growth. If you have a good laning phase, and if you get a couple of kills and you have good CS, you feel so strong compared to everyone else that it's even surprising the moment that you come for an objective and you have a team fight and you realize that the power growth that you've had vastly outstrips that anyone else has. And then you get this feeling like, wow, I am strong. 3 people just ran at me and I made them all run or they died. And I'm still here, I'm still standing because I got more items, I got more levels, and it feels really good. It's a lovely power fantasy. The replay system for League.
I think power growths are different for each champion as well, right? This is the thing.
It's actually really good. Now, it's not perfect. There are some animation bugs and maybe some bugs I haven't discovered yet, but it is better than the Dota 2 replay system in one specific way, which is that the replay is immediately available.
Is it better than Dota 2? I'm trying to figure out. The thing is, I wouldn't maybe say that, because in Dota 2, you get a POV of a player. You literally get their mouse and you see every click they do, right? Compared to League, where you don't get that. League replays are fine, don't get me wrong, they're fine. They work okay. I don't think they're very buggy. From my experience, they're usually fine. The only problem is when a new patch happens, then the replay sometimes breaks and stuff like that. That's fine. But yeah, they're just there. I mean, they're okay, yeah. I wouldn't say they're bad.
On finishing a game. In Dota 2, you have to wait a couple of minutes, which, for my ADHD brain, I've not been diagnosed, but you know, the idea of... it means that sometimes I'm not patient enough to wait for the replay and I'll just rage queue into the next game. But in League, I have no excuse. I can immediately watch the replay and then learn from it. And sometimes I even do watch the replay immediately after. It's immediately available. And then the way that it's better than the Heroes of the Storm replay system is that you can immediately jump to the end of the replay, if you so choose, to see the final team fight. I don't know how the technology is there, I'm not going to say League has a good client. Generally, it doesn't. There's a lot of wonky stuff about
It doesn't,
But
yeah.
the replay, for the replay, being able to jump to the end, that's really nice. Because in Here's the Storm, you need to play everything at x8 speed. So if you had a 40-minute replay, that's going to take at least 4 minutes to get to the end.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
2.5?
I didn't know
5
that.
minutes, right?
Interesting.
We'll edit this in post. Number 5, accessibility. I've mentioned that League is a deep and complex game. There's lots of different champions to learn, over 160, I believe. There are consistent updates as well, which means you have to study the patch notes. I'm sure every League player does study the patch notes and see.
He should look at Velia. Every League player studies patch notes. Yeah, buddy, just look at Velia, who doesn't even read them and is a professional player. I think patch notes, the thing is, you need to have a skill to read patch notes. It doesn't matter if you just read something, if you don't understand it. I think a lot of League players do not know how to read patch notes. And I think what carries the knowledge and the metas in League is these websites. Someone trying to enter my door. Hold on. I don't know why they're trying to open my door. Anyway, what I was saying is, what was I saying? Yeah, websites. Okay, I remember. Yeah, you have like, nowadays, like the thing is like people figure out really good champions or really good builds really fast because you have so many websites that they get this Riot API with huge sample size of games like Lone Analytics, UGG, and whatever else. There's like 5 of them at least out there. And people figure out what's a good build and what champion is at least decent based on win rate already. Like you don't even need skill anymore. Which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but literally, you could literally not even play League and know which champion with some skill, know which champion should be good like in pro player and high elo just based off like win rate data on champions and stuff like that. You don't even need to play the game.
How does this change things for me? I need to study these notes before I start playing because what if I do something suboptimal, then my teammates are going to be cross with me. However, even though there's so much to learn, you really can just sit down and start just kind of playing and kind of get the hang of it and basically play it at a decent base level. I think League has a much lower skill floor, which means it's easier to start playing at an okay base level than, for instance, Dota 2, where there are a lot of intricate game systems and control mechanisms like...
Is that true? Lower skill floor? I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I feel like both games are just fucking hard to get into anyway. Both games feel really overwhelming when you first start playing because there's so many champions, so many abilities, so many mechanics that you kind of need to play with friends. The best way to get into these games is to play with friends. Because then at least you're gonna slowly go together.
Like courier management and whatnot. And how to stack camps or how to use camps to pull lanes, lane minions away. It is easier to just start playing League. Now, that's not to say you're going to be...
Yeah, maybe that's true. I don't know.
Generally, what I mean by accessibility is how much general understanding do you need, how much learning do you need before you press play game in multiplayer and feel kind of like you can self-educate yourself to get better. And I feel like in League, you really can just launch the game and start playing. Like the hotkeys are all in sight of your UI. You generally, as long as you understand what MOBAs are. If you don't, then League is also going to feel like it has a really high skill floor.
Yeah, that's what I meant,
that's
exactly.
Kind of a big presumption. But overall, I feel like among MOBAs, it's relatively accessible. Perhaps less accessible than HOTS, but much more accessible than Dota 2. Number 6 is the culture. It's fun to be part of a game that feels alive, like it has a world to experience and is not just a game. There's a lot of culture around League of Legends.
I think the culture of League is a good and a bad thing. Like the bad thing is like the toxicity, right? And kind of like that part. But like the good thing is that the game feels alive. Like because it is the most popular game out there, it just like it feels like people care, you know, it feels like it's alive. It's like exactly what he's saying. There's so many good things about the culture of League. I can kind of get this point.
Seen it yet? It's a show on Netflix, and there's 2 seasons. It's
Arcane, yeah. That's a good point.
Studio from France, made in conjunction with Riot, and it's a lot of fun. I finished season 1.
Like for example, there's the lore aspect of League. I never care or watch or read anything about the lore, but you know, at the same time, I also understand that there's so many players out there that really care about the lore, and they are so invested in this. Like you know.
Season 2, I almost finished it, but it's very good, and it was actually one of the big catalysts for me to want to start.
I almost finished it?
So,
okay, he's reported.
It works. All the songs around the game. There's a lot of banger songs that you don't even necessarily recognize they're League songs if you don't know. There could be normies listening to League songs and say, yeah, that's a good pop song. and they don't even know it's from a game. And so there's a lot of culture around to be experienced on YouTube or Spotify that make the game just feel a little bit more alive.
That
It's
is
fun
true.
to listen to them without.
There's
playing
so
League.
much
It's more
content
fun
around
to
League,
go
not just the game itself, like League esports and all the songs and all the lore and I don't know what else, like the events, I don't know, so much.
that they are related to League after I've started playing and fell in love with the game. There's skins, there's fandoms. Apparently, every champion has its own subreddit where people discuss.
Every champion has their own subreddit, but some subreddits of some champions are completely that because the champions are usually like, they can be unpopular, right? They don't have a lot of mains. That can happen. So yeah, but a subreddit can be really active as well. If the champion is very popular, then the subreddit will be mega active.
They certainly don't like show their favorite skins or make lists with which champion skins show feet for different female champion skins and characters and champions. Certainly that wouldn't be happening, but they're going to be discussing game strategies and stuff on how to play the champion. So I think that's pretty neat. And there's a lot of lore around the game. Maybe one day we'll even have a Riot League of Legends style MMORPG, which was recently delayed, but maybe it's going to happen. Number 7, player base size. It's fun to be part of a game that everyone.
I think this kind of ties to his previous point.
Pokemon Go, it was like a global phenomenon. Everyone came together.
Yeah, that kind of make sense. That example, Pokemon Go was released, and everyone in the world like it blew up completely, right? And then the reason why people love it so much is because they feel like they're part of a world that is alive, and the same applies to League.
To enjoy.
If you start, like, for example, for Dota, the game is just not as alive as League, right?
Play Pokemon Go during those few weeks after its release. Sure, later on, you would
people actually touch grass because of a mobile game. That is crazy.
Think of it from a safety perspective. Maybe you get
good concept.
Mugged or beat up, but in the first few weeks, you didn't hear those stories all that much. There was this one moment where I was standing in the city, and we all had our iPhones out to play some Pokemon Go and catch some Mons, and then someone said, "Oh, there's a Squirtle nest appearing nearby, but it's gonna time out in 5 minutes. Quick, give me your unlocked phones, and I'll go on my bicycle. I'm the only one who could reach it that fast. Anyone that wants to, give me your unlocked phone, and I'll catch the Pokemon for you." And both I and my wife gave our phones to him because we can read people. We knew he's
okay. That sounds like a scam. I would never do that. Not gonna lie.
Not gonna scam us. He's not gonna take our unlocked phones and sell it on the black market. So we gave him our 2 iPhones. 6 other people gave their phone. He came back, we had a Squirtle, and a minimal spam email started appearing in the weeks following. So he really didn't abuse our trust all that much. No, I'm just kidding. From what I can tell, no spyware. Like, it was just good. And it's that kind of global phenomenon that can happen when you're all enjoying the same thing together. I believe League has 7 or 10, I don't know exactly how many, 7 or 10 million monthly active users. I heard something like EU West has 3 million players. Supposedly, my Platinum 4 rank puts me in the top 20% of skill bracket, together with 600,000 other players. So it's a pretty big community, and it's fun to be a part of such a big community. Number 8, because of that, educational content is rampantly available. It's easy to learn this way. There's lots of videos out there. There's YouTube channels.
I don't know how good Dota 2's educational content is. I didn't really tap into it, but League has so much educational content. It is disgusting, I think.
Channels dedicated to teaching people the game. You've got the Broken by Content.
Even though a lot of it is bad and harmful, I would argue, but there's still a shit ton of educational content.
It's a podcast. You've got people like Quante or Baus that are teaching different ways to play different champions or games, and that makes it a lot easier to learn. I'm a Warcraft 3 creator originally, together with Heroes of the Storm, and I made a lot of guides for those games. I probably made like 10, 20 different guides for Heroes of the Storm. I made 20 plus different guides for Warcraft 3, and that's what people often refer to when they're trying to pick up a game for the first time. I wish there were more people making quality guides that have good visibility so that new players can start learning the game in those games. But by comparison, those are a bit more niche. There was a lot of guide content for Warcraft 3 in its heyday recently in 2003 and 4 and 5. I remember there were like strategy websites with articles, like written articles, not YouTube, right? But not as much anymore. So it's nice to be able to summon forth League educational content to learn the game with, basically.
I think League educational content needs to keep producing itself in a way because the game changes a lot, right?
Number 9, objectives and game length. It seems pretty clear that Riot is aiming for League games to last between
around 30 minutes,
which is the first time window where you're allowed to forfeit, and this happens more than I would used to like, but now I kind of get it because it can be really bad when you're behind and you see no way to come back. So I allow League its forfeit function, even though if you asked me 5 years ago, I was vehemently and adamantly against any multiplayer
A lot of people were against an FF option in League until like Riot did the data on it, like Freak talked about back then, which is that like FFing at 15, people have like, I don't know what the number was, 98% or something ridiculously high that those games were lost even if you didn't FF them and you FF them, you know what I mean? Like blah, 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 I don't know. I forgot kind of like in my brain because it was a long time ago. Like Riot only implemented FF at 15 with 4 votes because we used to be 5 votes back in the day because of data pretty much. But League game length used to be like back in the old days, it used to even go to like 1 hour. It was kind of like Dota, but this is just not the meta anymore in 2025. That is like the reason. This is like one of the reasons why Dota cannot be as popular as League is because the Dota games are, I think, too long on average, and we're in a Zoomer meta right now where everyone's attention span is 0. So Riot aims League length to be around 30 minutes, I believe, on average, which I think they are successfully achieving. And they know ways, they know really well how to like increase game length or decrease it. They could easily buff towers health to make the games last longer, nerf the Baron, blah, 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 right? And simultaneously, they could also make the games faster by making people deal more damage, make the towers squishier, blah, blah, blah.
games having forfeit culture because having the forfeit button leads to weak mindset. And I still believe that actually. But at the same time, it's not that fun being held hostage in a game that you no longer have hope in. I don't know how many times I voted no to surrender in my 200 plus ranked games. Probably hundreds of times, actually. Sometimes multiple times per game. But I've also said yes a couple of times, and I felt relieved I could exit the game. So maybe it deserves to be in League. But either way, the games aren't that long. They're like 15 to 30, 35 minutes. So you don't have the 1 hour slugfest that Dota 2 has. As much as I did enjoy those, but it's nice to have like a kind of predictable...
Dota 2 has a big slugfest. I experience this all the time when I play Dota 2. The death timer being like over a minute in late game, you can literally just go take a shower. Like it's ridiculous.
5 minutes is, at my rank, is how long the games are lasting. And because of the regular objectives like Drake at minute 5, Void Grubs at minute 8, Baron Nashor at minute 25, you create these moments where the teams are supposed to come together and have a potentially game-ending fight that can give enough power, or maybe because you won the fight so hard that you can end the game off the back of that. Because you don't just...
This makes sense what he's saying, but as someone who played League for a long time, objectives are not in that good of a spot right now, just because they're very stale. They've been the same way in the game for a long time. And yeah,
just want to lane until the end of the game and then have one of your solo laners apparently push to the Nexus, destroy it, and win the game like that. So I think the game pacing has been fairly well crafted by Riot.
I think the game pacing has been, how do I say it, like tuned by Riot for a long time. Like in the past, it was for sure much worse.
Teamwork. I know. Our teammates, they're the worst, right? Opponents are smurfing. Our teammates never do anything right. But yeah, I've had a couple of griefers, thankfully very few, and it does happen sometimes. And I'm fine with it that it happens sometimes. Luckily, it's not been that frequent yet. Overall, most people seem to be wanting to win. And while many different people have a different idea of how to win, for instance, yesterday's Orianna thought that we should both walk into tower in the top lane and try to kill that one guy that was hiding behind his tower, and we both flashed and died. That was against the Gangplank. That was not good. He wasn't good, but I didn't do right either. But he did seem to want to win in general. Like, most people don't outright give up, stand in the bush, and go AFK so far. Whether it's via ganks, doing the objective, or laning well, or warning each other with spam pings, you're about to get ganked. People are trying to win, and it feels really good to carry your team and to do so well that you were the MVP. But it feels pretty good to get carried sometimes as well, and just try to stem the bleeding of your own inferiority when you're losing lane. And so through the power of teamwork, you can come together and get the W, and that feels pretty fun in a way that one-on-one games will never have that kind of dimension to it.
That makes sense.
It seems like the reporting system is working pretty well. Is it? Do you guys agree with that?
The reporting system has gotten a lot better recently because Riot has added automation tools that they don't want to disclose that are much, much better at detecting griefing than before. The reporting system in the past did not do anything. This is a very recent addition where the reports actually do anything.
Is it working well? Because I'm getting feedback sometimes that my reports did something. So people are trying not to get reported. It seems like people engage in less griefing behavior out of fear for it. It's all right. It's all right. All right, what are the 5 things I like the least about League of Legends?
Okay, let's see.
Well, it's pretty snowbally. Falling behind early can feel very
Pretty
snowbally. There's kind of a
snowbally.
lack of things to do when you're behind. Good coaches have told me time and time again, I'm just supposed to go back to my lane and take a beating. And try not to die too much. And try to get a bit of XP. Even if I can't touch the minions and I don't get gold, just try to at least get the XP and hope maybe you're going to get help from somewhere else. So that doesn't feel that.
Thing is, you could argue the league is snowbally, but at the same time, I think it has to be, right? Because if you're not, if somebody beats you early game and you don't get ahead enough, then it won't feel rewarding enough. And simultaneously, games have to end, right? If Riot were to reduce snowballiness, which they did a lot, by the way, the games used to be even more lethal. Champions were one-shotting each other a lot more than they do right now. So right now the damage in the game is in a much better spot than it used to be, in my opinion. I don't know if I agree with this part that League is snowbally. Like, of course the game has to kind of be snowbally because the game needs to end at some point so the game length isn't too long and the game needs to be rewarding and reward players that do well and punish players that do badly. That's just the nature of the game. Yes, somebody has to have fun and somebody will maybe not have fun because while one is ahead and one is behind. That's just the nature of the game, right? And you're gonna experience both sides of it. I don't really think there is a good way to fix that. I mean, Riot has done a lot better job by removing mythics and durability update and this and that, but yeah, you could argue that maybe there needs to be a little bit more damage right now. Like, for example, people think that the items need to do a little bit more right now, which would probably increase the power level of the game higher, which I would assume would increase snowballiness, right? So a lot of people think the game is not snowbally enough, I guess.
Good when you fall behind and you get snowballed and you're not allowed to deviate the game plan. In Warcraft 3, if I fall behind, maybe I'm going to do constant guerrilla tactics and try to Zeppelin drop or speed scroll run by and kill their workers. I can't win a straight up fight anymore, but maybe I can do constant TP outs while taking creeps far on the map. And then when an opponent comes to gank me, I'll just TP out and I go somewhere else. So that you can use maneuvering and going elsewhere to try to engineer a comeback when a direct fight is not
That's just a lot different game, right?
But in League, usually, if I'm getting abused by my lane opponent, I'm just sent right back to them again. Because I'm supposed to stay in my lane. That doesn't feel that good. However, when I'm the one doing the snowballing, I think everything is fine. Isn't that weird? I think that's fine, because I'll snowball and I'll be strong. So being on the receiving end of it, not as fun. But you could make an argument.
I get what he means. He's just trying to say that if you're losing, the game is not that fun. If you're winning, the game is fun.
That this is just saying, winning, fun, good. Losing, bad, yuck. Number 2. Once you get to the late game, like 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, there's a chance you're fully slotted out. 5 3,000 gold items, tier 3 boots, and you might have 2,000 gold in the bank. And you can spend it on a 500 gold elixir to give a temporary boost, and maybe you'll do that several times.
Yeah.
But you could have thousands of gold, and this happened to me a couple of times, that simply cannot be used. In Dota 2, I may replace my boots with a 3,000 gold item.
Okay, so you're trying to say that you can't really spend late game gold that well in League. I'm trying to think, is that a big issue in League? Like, a lot of people think that they should add another slot, right? But I think that would like break the game in a way. I don't think the game is built around that. For example, Riot has, you know what? Maybe Riot could do. Maybe Riot should have kept items like Zephyr in the game that were really recent additions, where if the game goes super long, you can feel good about buying like such a strong item, you know. That you spend gold on, and it's basically like a boots plus item together. I don't know, maybe Riot should do that, but Riot has already, like, they didn't keep that in the game very long, they removed it very fast, so I'm not really sure. Now, he mentioned that you can sell your boots. You can do that in League too, but some champions function better with no boots than others, and I guess having no boots is probably a little bit more punishing in League and Dota.
Item that has some movement speed.
I mean, personally, I almost never reach 6 items in a game, so I don't really experience that issue, right? But maybe this is more of a low elo thing, because low elo games go longer, therefore players reach 6 items a lot more. In high elo, this is not that big of a frustration point.
But at least in my current understanding of the game, this is not something we're doing a lot in League of Legends. Maybe it's a lack of game understanding and knowledge, but overall, gold just ceases to have value once you're fully kitted out. It seems like. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but this is my current understanding. Number 3, League is a complex game. And the result of that is that there can be some frustrations, in particular, built up over the long term. Complex games require deep commitment to learn and enjoy the game. Constant patches, every 2 weeks apparently, create more complexity of learning and actually require more commitment to learn them. This creates an investment of time. When people invest time, they want to get paid off on that investment. The investment of that is satisfaction and enjoyment.
Yeah.
And so sometimes any of the dozens of areas of skill that people have can fall short of the expectations of their teammates. Maybe you are very good at your champion mechanics, but you're not very good at looking at the minimap. Or you see everything on the minimap and you can see all the disasters that are about to be beset upon your teammates, but no matter how much you warn them, they're not listening. Or maybe you're good at all of those, but you have a terrible mental and you easily, blow up and give up because you're so upset with what your teammates are doing. And it's making you play worse, but you can't help yourself because you're just so mad and distracted. And you don't understand how you're lumped together with these nitwits. All of these frustrations can mount up and boil up over time. And if you don't give yourself a chance to flow away the frustration by taking relaxing breaks and engaging in other activities that offer perspective and give you a chance to spend time thinking about other things, if we don't do that, it can reach a boiling point where we ourselves may become less courteous than we like to see in ourselves, right? So keeping a healthy relationship to the game is important to me, and so I'll try to take breaks when I'm getting too fucked up. And
that makes sense, yeah. This is a good mindset. If I realize
that I've become the villain in a game, I should definitely take a break because everyone is warning this game will corrupt you, and I'm not going to let it happen. And if it does, I'll take a break because I don't want to treat people that way. Gatekeeping, number 4. There's a decent amount of gatekeeping in games like this. People forget how long it took for them to learn the game. There's not enough general understanding and patience to let players figure out the game without being ridiculed or sternly backseated.
This what he's talking about is mostly a newer player issue. When someone starts playing the game, I feel like there just isn't a good tutorial system in the game. There isn't a really good way to get a very low level experience when, like in League, I feel like if you're a low player and you queue up, there's a very high chance the enemy team is going to have a smurf. And that just makes the game a lot less fun as a beginner to join. This is like one of the problems why it's so hard to get new players into League, is because garbage tutorial, bad matchmaking when you're a completely new player because you only face smurfs. So you need friends to get into the game. It's like the only way, really.
Elite gaming communities of high skill and complex and deep games often become like this. I wish I could say that Warcraft 3 was exempt of this type of behavior, but it isn't. Some of the stories of toxic gaming communities are actually from a micro community inside Warcraft 3. When I started playing tower defense, Legion tower defense in Warcraft 3, the people were excited I was finally trying the game, but the veterans of League were asking for my teammates and I to be banned from the map. So we are just a new player, and the way that new players should be treated by a matchmaking system is to be placed with other new players, but those often don't exist. So you had these Legion TD veterans that were asking for the player that was on their team to be banned because he was bad. So I explained in all chat, that's probably one of my viewers. They're queuing up for the game, same as me, we're all new, and even though you have a new teammate right now that's learning the game, try to be patient and understanding.
And that's fucked up, yeah.
So are my teammates. But he said pretty much in so many words that he didn't care. That person needed to be banned anyway. So this is the kind of gatekeeping where it's like, I want a good experience, and this guy is ruining my game, and I don't care if he's new, I don't care if my game dies. I'm going to gatekeep the shit out of him, and he should be reported, and he should feel bad that he's bad. And you need to learn the game more before you start playing. Wait a second. How do you learn the game? By playing. So I need to learn more before I start playing, because I'm not allowed to play if I'm bad, even though I'm new. So wait, then nobody would play. The game will die. So yeah.
Yep.
Ultimately, it's a streamer's own choice to stream their game, so I'm expecting that from Twitch chat. And I can also mute everyone in the game with Riot's muting system, so it's not really that big of a deal, but there is a lot of gatekeeping, and I would just like to remind people that, remember, people could be new players, even in a game like this, and don't expect them to be perfect and great at everything.
Makes sense,
right away.
yeah.
It takes a lot of time to learn, and sometimes it's frustrating. That's all. It can be a little frustrating to see so little understanding for it. And remember, I've seen new players in Warcraft 3, and sometimes I get frustrated with them as well. I've already coached you on this. Why are you still making this mistake? Yeah, it's a message to myself as well. Be patient. Number 5, thing I hate about League. Getting ganked. Cringe.
I cannot believe this is his point. Getting ganked. It is hilarious. Like, seriously. It puts a smile on my face because it's not about getting ganked. Let me translate what he's actually trying to say. Jungle is overpowered. That's what he's trying to say. Oh my god. I mean, we know. Everyone in League is aware of this problem. Even Riot, bro. when Riot came out and said jungle is 20% stronger than every other role in the game, based on how we can measure it. And then they proceeded to nerf jungle a little bit. This role will still continue to be Thanos. It will always be like that. Riot is just in this impossible spot where they cannot nerf jungle because then nobody plays the role. They simplify jungle to the max they can. This role requires 0 skill to be played nowadays. The way you do camps, you can be 100 health, walk to a camp level 1 and you can still do it. It is just mind-blowing how disgusting easy this thing got. But again, I just don't think Riot will ever nerf this role. So we're just stuck in this endless loop where jungle will just continuously be the best role in the game. And not just the best role and a little bit stronger, way stronger than everyone else. And I don't know, man. I don't know. You know me, man. I would nerf jungle, but I'm not Riot, and Riot doesn't want to lose players in jungle. GG.
Enemy junglers, supports, and mid laners that are ganking me and are not respecting the one-on-one. It's so fucking cringe. If my jungler ganks, it's okay, but if I get ganked and I'm 1v2, 1v3 the whole time, it really sucks. So please stop doing it. Thank you.
Okay, getting ganked. I guess he also means the support and mid laner here. But I think this should happen not as much. I mean, jungler will always be the number one when it comes to this problem.
Junglers or mid laners will ruin their...
I think jungle is number 1 problem when it comes to ganks. Support is number 2 problem when it comes to ganks, because supports have basically infinite freedom as a class. The same way goes for jungle, right? Mid laners, they cannot roam nearly as much anymore as they used to. Mid laning roaming got completely gutted over the years. Mid laners start roaming now after like minute 8, 9, 10. That's like usually the earliest they can kind of roam a lot. In ADCs, they don't really roam.
Their own game plan to come and gank me. And that should be a good thing.
But maybe in low elo, the meta is that mid laner roams more than support. Like maybe that's the case, right? Because it's low elo. But in high elo, it's definitely jungle first, support second.
Because we're probably going to win the game because of it. They just missed 2 waves mid. They skipped how many creeps in their own jungle? And my jungler is 2 levels ahead of theirs. And we just got Drake. But I'm still having a bad game experience because I'm 0-3-0. And the enemy top laner is 2-0-1. And I don't like it. Yes, we won the game, but I had a bad experience. I'm kind of okay with that from an intellectual point of view. Like,
this makes sense what he's saying. He's saying that, like, you know, someone can just ruin your game and you're not going to have fun for the rest of the game even if you win.
From like, I know this is good for me because they're over-focusing on top. It's good for my team and we won. Cool. But I prefer for it not to happen. I prefer not to get ganked. That's all.
That makes sense.
All right,
I'm pretty sure Riot could find ways to make ganks happen less.
So far in League of Legends.
Like more punishing. People would do it less if you get more punished.
I think I'm going to have a lot more fun with the game. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I thought to myself that like the top 10 things, I kind of agreed with all of them. But the bottom 5, I feel like some of them weren't that like, you know, like they didn't really come close to the top 10. Like snowballiness or late game gold spend for me weren't really that big points, right? So I feel like a lot more positives here than negatives, which I think is fair.